Hey, how's everybody doing? I pray that everybody's doing well. First thing we're going to do is what we normally do. We're going to go in prayer. Father, I thank you for an opportunity to present this information. I pray that it be beneficial and informational. Again, Lord, I thank you for this platform. I pray, Father, that this information reaches as many people as possible. In Jesus' name. Listen, we just celebrated Juneteenth last month. The subject I want to deal with is Juneteenth and the criticism of it by a young lady who was employed by PragerU. If you know anything about PragerU, it is basically a right-wing, considered a non-profit organization that promotes conservative videos. So I came across this video and I thought it would be a good idea to critique what this young lady is saying. I disagree with pretty much everything she says. Okay, but listen, I want you to hear some of her views and then I will opine.
Here, because of course I want to get this right. This is a sticky subject to step in, and you kind of feel like you have to walk on eggshells when you're talking about this. Funny enough.
Why do you have to walk on eggshells when you talk about it? It's the law. And quite frankly, if it was up to me, I would have rather seen the George Floyd bill passed. I would rather have seen the John Lewis bill passed. I would rather see a bill passed dealing with qualified immunity where police officers are held, the kind of but they gave us Juneteenth. I'm okay with it. You know, I celebrate it. But quite frankly, we really didn't need another federal holiday where we acknowledge our history. But it's okay. But as you can see, many on the right, they feel the need to walk on eggshells because quite frankly, they don't like it.
I'm going to talk about why you feel the need to walk on eggshells when we come on this. It is a very ingenious trick specifically made by the radical left to make it so that you cannot...
It is not an ingenious trick. Joe Biden simply signed it into legislation. It became law, and now it's a federal holiday. And let's be honest, there are a large number of people that do not even celebrate it. Okay? It's just another day to be off. Like the 4th of July. Many of us don't celebrate the 4th of July. But I appreciate the fact that we have Juneteenth. Just like we have Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. I really appreciate it. And I like Black History Month. But quite frankly, it has no major impact. We need laws. That's what we need.
Possibly oppose something like Juneteenth. So let me give you the perspective here. If you're not familiar with what Juneteenth is, a federally recognized holiday that celebrates the emancipation of slavery. Kind of, not quite. It celebrates the emancipation of slaves in Galveston, Texas, and the announcement of which it was made in that state to emancipate slaves. Great, good, love it. A disclaimer, nobody is against the emancipation of slaves. I can't, in fact,
my question is, how do you know who is against it? I believe there are people that wish we could turn the clock back and go back to slavery, where Black people were in bondage and basically property and second-class citizen. That's an assumption.
Find a single person who would tell you any differently than what I just told you. Nobody is against the emancipation of slaves. That is a great, wonderful thing. As a Black American, I really do appreciate that that happened. But what is happening right now is that Juneteenth is being pushed as this major narrative, and it is being pushed. I'm sure you're seeing it everywhere.
Pushed as a major narrative? How is it being pushed as a major narrative? It simply became a law. And we acknowledge what happened in Galveston, Texas, where those people who were still in bondage were notified that they were actually free 2 years ago. That's all it is. And of course, we celebrate, it had been celebrated in Texas for years. Now we celebrate it on a national level. That's it.
If you are hearing me talk about this for the first time, I am baffled. But Juneteenth is being pushed because it perpetuates the very same narrative of things like critical race theory.
Here we go. The same narrative as critical race theory. The right hates the idea about critical race theory, and they would tell the lie that it's being taught in K through 12, which I've already talked about. But as you can see, this young lady just like many black conservatives, grifters, they have a problem with it because it goes with the narrative. Anything that is considered black, they have to speak against it. She's following that narrative.
In America. And what is that narrative? The narrative is that Black Americans are oppressed and that white Americans are the oppressors.
Okay. The fact of the matter is, family, we still have racism today. And on some level, black people are oppressed. And mostly white people are in position of power or considered the oppressors. They make the laws from the courts to the Senate to the House of Representatives. They make policy. And oftentimes those policies are oppressive to African Americans. All you have to do is do the research.
So black, great, we need to help them. They are victims. White, bad. Colonizers, they are the ones who have been...
The fact of the matter is, in many ways, we are a victim. We are victims of structural racism. They like to say that word victimhood. We are victims. And you know why they do it? Because they hate the fact that we bring up issues of race. So because we bring it up, we are victims in their eyes. But for example, if you hit me with your car, you have made me a victim. And there should be some ways you repair the damage you have done. But they don't want to have that conversation about reparations.
Doing the oppressing. They are the ones who have enslaved us. And Juneteenth is an avenue of which we push that narrative. And I'm just going to refer back to my notes here.
That's not a way that we push that narrative. That's a right-wing narrative because they do not like the fact that we are celebrating what actually happened. This is not a fictional story. Juneteenth acknowledges and celebrate what happened in Galveston, Texas. That is it. But what it is, they want us to suffer in silence. They want us to be quiet and say nothing. And she is one of their mouthpieces. It's sickening.
So if you don't see how this is so ingenious, let me tell you how it's ingenious. Because if you come out and you say, you know what, I'm feeling kind of fishy about this whole Juneteenth thing, you look like a bigot. Because who could possibly oppose a holiday that celebrates the emancipation?
How do you look like a bigot? Now, if you have a problem with it, you could be perceived as being a bigot. My problem is, why would you have a problem with it? If you don't want to celebrate, you don't have to. There are certain holidays I don't celebrate. I have no problem with people that want to celebrate it. If you want to celebrate it, go ahead. Long as your celebrating does not impose on me or my life, I don't have a problem. But it's obvious this young grifter, and that's what she is. She's a grifter. Has a problem with Juneteenth, like her cohort Candace Owens.
Of slavery. And again, I will say, I'm not against the emancipation of slavery, obviously, in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
But the left has set it up to where you come out and you say, you know what, I don't think Juneteenth should maybe be a federal holiday. And you look like a bigot who is discriminating against people. So why is Juneteenth or
the fact that you're talking about it, it's obvious that you don't want it acknowledged or celebrated as a holiday. And that's your prerogative. But the fact of the matter is, it is a holiday. If you want to find something else to do on that day, you are more than welcome. But I myself, I usually try to go to different events that celebrate Juneteenth. And I usually have a good time, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But this grifter has a problem with it.
Premise of celebrating the emancipation of slavery a problem? Again, it's because we push this narrative that white is bad, they're oppressive, and black people are victims.
Nobody ever said that white people are bad and black people are victims. But that's the narrative they push. Anytime we celebrate our history, anytime we talk about issues of racism, whether it's a high-profile police shooting or whatever the case may be, that's the narrative they push. I believe in many ways it's guilt. Because if you wouldn't guilty, why would you even worry about it? But you can see this mouthpiece, she does a good job of pushing this narrative.
And I want to just ask you guys a question today. What do you think of when you think of Black Americans? And the left will tell you, I think victim. I think slavery.
Woo-wee. Slavery and victim when you think of African American. That's a lie from the pit. The fact of the matter is, when many on the right and many in the dominant culture on the right, when they think of Black, they think negative. Unless it's a Candace Owens or a Byron Donalds or a Tim Scott or a Clarence Thomas. They think negative. Crime. Lazy. Violent. But they won't ever admit it. But usually, when a Black unarmed man is the victim of a shooting, a killing by a police officer, they use character assassination. That's when you hear it.
I think unequal. I think oppressed. And me as a conservative, I will tell you, I don't think of anything because I don't attribute characteristics to a person based off of their skin color.
Now, you know that's not true. From day one since we've been here, certain characteristics have been attributed to African Americans. One of them is lazy, prone to violence, inherently criminal. This grifter is doing a good job of pushing this right-wing narrative. That's why it's so important that we do some fact-checking, get the receipts, and push back on this madness.
Would never do such a thing. Black Americans are all different. We are all diverse. We all have different values. We all have different feelings. We all have differences in our lives. And what Juneteenth...
That is true. So why are we lumped into the same boat when an African American commits a heinous crime? She's right. We're not monolithic. When young African American men are arrested on the news for a heinous crime, it's no reflection on me. I don't like it because I know many on the right, they can't distinguish between us. Now, they won't come out and say it publicly, but they lump us all in the same boat.
Aims to do as a federal holiday is to ascribe characteristics to people based on race. It perpetuates a narrative that Black people in this country are oppressed and that we still have...
Juneteenth has absolutely nothing to do with Black people being oppressed, family. It simply celebrates or acknowledges what happened in Galveston, Texas. How those Black people who were enslaved were notified 2 years later that they were free. That's it. But the fact of the matter is they cannot take it. And it's obvious this young grifter can't take it.
Systems that are systemically racist and that are founded on white supremacy in this country, which is absolutely not true. We are not held back in any way, shape, or form. And you have to beg the question.
And nobody said, and the fact of the matter is, the United States was founded on white supremacy. In fact, the economy was built on the backs of Africans who were enslaved. Cotton was the big thing. Cotton helped establish the economic foundation of these United States, but of course the grifter won't admit that.
What has Juneteenth accomplished for anybody now that it's a federal holiday? You get a day off of work. Well, this year it's a Saturday.
Again, nobody said Juneteenth accomplished anything except it's being acknowledged, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And we should know. We should make sure our children know it. But listen, I can only take so much of this young grifter. But listen, I just wanted to respond to this misinformation put out about Juneteenth. It is a holiday which Joe Biden, by the way, signed into law, where we acknowledge and celebrate what happened in Galveston, Texas. In the meantime, Do your own research, please. And also look up PragerU. It's the right-wing arm of the Republican Party. They won't admit it, but they have some very conservative right-wing ideas. So I'm just going to go ahead and end with prayer right quick. Father, again, I thank you for the opportunity to put some information out there that would be beneficial. And I pray, Father, that as many has an opportunity to view this video would be educated and informed. This I pray in Jesus' name. So in the meantime, please subscribe to the channel, Truth Talk Ministry JR, and also Legacy by Ready. And like the video, share it, and hit that subscribe button. My brothers and sisters, please, I'm trying to build this channel. In order for me to do that, I need you to subscribe to the channel. But in the meantime, stay up and stay informed. God bless you.